For Larry Weishuhn, the sunflower state of Kansas holds a special place in his heart. This is where last year he racked up a 170-plus buck. Now he's back for another hunt during another season, hoping that the heartland holds something as good or better than the deer he took last year.
Winchester's World of Whitetail is brought to you by the Dallas Safari Club, promoting conservation, education, and ethical hunting worldwide. Nikon, the trusted name in optics. Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Thompson Center, America's master gun maker. Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter. The Buck Bomb blows away traditional scents. Bad Boy Buggies, they'll never hear you coming. And by Remote Locations, Secrets of Making Outdoor TV, a 150-page full-color book from Orion Multimedia. Order by phone 1-800-850-9453.
If anyone knows about the shock and awe of white-tailed deer, it'd be Larry Weishuhn. He spent decades in the pursuit of America's #1 big game animal. For Weishuhn, there's no greater experience in the outdoors than the always challenging hunt for another monster buck. The sooner Weishuhn can log off on his computer, the better, because what comes before whitetail hunting is merely prelude. With all of his gear in tow, he's made it to Kansas, and he's ready to push on to the hunting field to see what this fall's crop of big whitetails looks like. Weishuhn's returning to familiar territory. Here in Kansas are found the Central Plains subspecies of whitetail, that Latin word macrorius, meaning big tail. What Weishuhn's really looking for, though, with his good friend Stan E. Christensen of the original Kansas Trophy Whitetails, are big antlers.
Well, look at there. Stan, it is so good to see you, my friend.
It really is.
Good to see you.
You made it in good time.
Yeah, we did. I can't believe how green it is. There's a lot of pre-scouting that goes into one of these hunts, and thankfully with having Stan not only as the outfitter, but also as an old, long-time friend, I rely on him a lot to do the scouting for me, and he has done a lot of the preparation coming into this hunt.
We've had a tremendous summer. We've had rain, about an inch of rain every week, and there's a lot of food, pea vines and stuff like that out, and the deer aren't really congregated, but the places where they've been coming and these bucks stay there, I mean, we've seen some real nice deer. I mean, we've taken one area, there's been 5 Boone and Crockett's come off of 80 acres, and there's not very many places in the United States where that's happened.
It's muzzleloader hunting season in Kansas, so Larry Weishuhn brought out his favorite front-loading rifle.
This particular area that we're hunting in has got some tremendously big deer. Now, whether we can find them is another thing, but there's that anticipation of knowing there's some big deer here. Hunted here last year and shot a 171, a 10-point. So there's great anticipation on my part knowing what's here, with a lot of hope of finding one of those bucks that we saw last year. It is warm this afternoon, but hopefully some of these deer will come in a little bit earlier. The moon's getting smaller every night. Morning temperatures are down a little bit, so hopefully they'll come into these fields a little bit earlier today. Speaking of which, there's one right now. It's a doe. Maybe a few more back here in the back. Tremendous fawn crop this year. It's got to be way over 100%. Some of these fawns still have a little bitty sign of spots. A couple of them you can tell for sure, little 6-month-old buck fawns, or almost 6-month-old buck fawns, because they got little nubs on their head. the grassy area. Comes a little buck. He's just a youngster, probably a 1.5-year-old deer. Absolutely fabulous place, and the good thing is these deer are coming out a whole lot earlier this afternoon than they have. Maybe the bigger bucks will follow. We've seen some really nice young bucks, but not anything of age yet.
As the day ends, Weishuhn hasn't seen a keeper, but he's encouraged by the way the young bucks are behaving, their aggressiveness promising that the rut's on the way.
We're in Kansas during the really early pre-rut. The bucks are out of velvet, they're hard antlered. You know, the testosterone level is really starting to increase a little bit, whereas in the past they were really big buddies, I'm sure. Now, they want a little bit more space between each other. It was really interesting, in the first day that we're here, you saw the bucks, the young bucks particularly, little forkhorn spikes, and they'd kind of push their heads together a little bit and do a little sparring, and then they'd look around. But as the days have increased, the time that we're here, you can see that testosterone level come up, because now the severity of that sparring is increasing to the point to where one of them actually even flipped another buck. It's just a matter of time now before some of those older age bucks get into that same thing. Right now, they're not really fighting all that much that I can tell, but the younger bucks are, and you can see the intensity of that sparring match increasing on a daily basis.
I would flip over a bull to keep my does safe.
You are so old and slow, you'd never catch these younger bucks.
Don't get me started on old and slow. I'll flip you too.
Hey, be nice. Respect your elders.
There probably were always a few deer in Kansas, but with the westward expansion, many of those deer were killed out for several reasons: for food, for skin, what few there were, particularly on the river bottoms. There really were not hardly any whitetail deer over the most part of Kansas until the middle 60s or so.
I saw my first whitetail when I was a sophomore, junior in high school in Kansas, which would have been about 57, 58.
Once unregulated hunting was controlled, Kansas had all the right conditions, from food to shelter to climate and habitat, to let whitetail come back and prosper.
It was a situation where there was so much natural food available. Agriculture was really developing. People were planting all kinds of different crops all over the different areas of the central and western part of the state. Food was available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year.
With populations restored, quality deer became a goal. And for the last 30 years, Kansas hunters and landowners have worked through careful management to place many whitetails in the trophy records books.
And it's been interesting seeing that quality come up, the numbers come up, people become interested in management, and now Kansas is considered one of the premier whitetail states in all of North America.
For Weishuhn, the hunt for one of those trophy deer goes on Winchester World of Whitetail. Larry Weishuhn's hunting in the early season with Kansas trophy whitetails. It's still the pre-rut, and the big deer are walking softly but carrying big racks. And for Weishuhn, time's still on his side. First, though, let's take time for a management minute.
If you want to become a better deer hunter, one of the things you really need to know about is what do deer eat? You know, we know that they're primarily browsers. They eat all kinds of fruits, nuts, things of that nature, twigs. They're a ruminant, which means they have really kind of four chambers to the stomach, which allows them to eat a whole lot, crawl back in the woods somewhere, regurgitate, chew their cud. You can read about what deer eat. There's all kinds of research out there that's been done about particular areas that tell you what the primary browse species are, maybe even by season. But one of the things that I really like to do is when I get into an area and I'm not real sure, hopefully somebody has just taken a deer. And if somebody's just taken a deer, the first thing I'm going to do is find me a good pair of rubber gloves, get my knife, Try to find the rumen. That's the biggest chamber of that 4-chambered stomach that a whitetail deer has since he's a ruminant. It's got all the little papillae, and I'm going to pull out some pieces of plant that I can identify. And I'm going to look at that rumen to try to find if there's a whole lot of one particular kind of plant in there. Now, I may not be able to identify exactly what that particular species is, or a plant that's in there, but I can look at that leaf and I say, that looks like a leaf that I saw back over in that part of the country over here, or that part of the pasture, or that part of the leaf. That's where I'm going to try to hunt later on, because if that deer really liked that particular plant, chances are another deer will like it as well. Just learn to look at the leaf and say, aha, I saw a whole lot of that same kind of style plant leaf back over in the other part of the property. That's where you want to go hunt.
When the buck stops, the excitement begins.
So I had a pretty good game plan going into this thing, is that I'm going to hunt this particular field. The whitetail deer right now are still in their late summer patterns. They're coming into the same fields that they were back in early September, late August. I know there's some really big antlered bucks here, but the way the deer are moving, the first good mature deer I see, I'm going to try to take. I've got some buck bone with me, and the young buck, a little bit later on, I'd probably be using some doe and heat, dominant buck, but we're way too early in the season to do that. But this just kind of acts as a little bit of a cover scent, kind of a confidence. Deer hopefully will smell it and think there's a young buck in the area. Sometimes I think people are disappointed if they don't see big bucks the first day they're out. Sometimes it doesn't happen. It keeps you going back looking for those big deer. With me, I love to hunt mature bucks. So as long as I can see a mature buck, regardless of whether he's this wide, this tall, this massive, or just a really nice kind of deer, if that deer is a mature deer, I'm not going to be disappointed.
In the blind today, Weishuhn's had a good look at the freshman class, and although none of the graduating seniors seem to have come around yet, Weishuhn's had enough years of whitetail experience to know not to get impatient and pull that trigger too soon. With over 50 years of deer hunting experience behind him, Larry Weishuhn's earned the title of Mr. Whitetail. In every imaginable territory, over every terrain, in all weather, and with every technique, Weishuhn's hunted the whitetail deer, with his favorite hunt always being the next one.
I did rattle them up. You ready?
Known worldwide to hunters from his talks, writing, and television appearances, Weishuhn's won the reputation for dedicating himself to the pursuit of mature deer and for championing the principles of sound whitetail management.
Actually, Wayne Fears, a friend of mine from Alabama, a writer, and over a period of several years, he saw some of the research that I did with whitetail deer and some of the management programs that I had. He actually came and hunted with me on some places. He wrote an article, and in it, he referred to me as Mr. Whitetail.
I got a lot of respect for Larry. He certainly knows a lot about whitetail. I won't ever count him out.
When the chips are down, to make that shot count, that man can shoot. I've seen him all my life on TV, and he can really do it.
It's a name that I'm proud of. It kind of bothers me in some way, because there's so many good whitetail hunters and people out there that are involved with whitetail deer. I just happened to come along at the right time. It's a title that you have to live up to on a daily basis. I mean, Just about the time you think you know something about whitetail deer, that scoundrel is going to teach you another lesson. It's a continual, constant, ever ongoing learning experience when you're dealing with whitetail deer.
There's a big buck right there.
It looks like all of Weishuhn's experience and patience may be about to pay off on this Winchester World of Whitetail.
Winchester's World of Whitetail is brought to you by the Dallas Safari Club, promoting conservation, education, and ethical hunting worldwide. Nikon, the trusted name in optics. Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Thompson Center, America's master gunmaker. Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter. The Buck Bomb blows away traditional scents. Bad Boy Buggies, they'll never hear you coming. And by Wild Game Innovations, nutrition, attraction, and action.
Many long hours in the ground blind have shown Larry Weishuhn plenty of whitetail bucks, but none with the age and size he's really hoping for. But Weishuhn's been through this scenario more than enough times to let discouragement get the better of him.
Right now, the best that we can do is just about what we're doing. Is we're set up on a field, on a food plot, where these deer have been coming into all summer long. Getting into the bedding areas here, the bedding areas are probably within about 100 yards, 150 yards, maybe, of where the field edges are. So we're really kind of stuck with what we can do in terms of how we can hunt. With this particular set of circumstances, we've got a big field, we've got a little bit of woods. We're not that far from a federal refuge that doesn't allow any hunting to speak of at all. So our best bet is just to try to sit still and wait and see what we can do. These deer are fairly close, but these turkeys are just right here. I was concerned about the turkeys seeing us, particularly because they can see color. I was afraid they were going to see the blaze orange in here, but they're not paying any attention to us. Got some does out here in front, and I'm glassing the does, and a couple little bucks, and some little nubbin bucks, and there are turkeys scattered all around us. And just happened to look over to my left, and here comes a buck. What's that, 6 point? And I'm glassing him, and then just about that time go, oh my God. I can't believe it. There's a deer walking up behind him. He's 10 points. That buck is 7-8 inches taller. And I'm just kind of looking at this deer, and I'm going, oh my God. That deer is that deer is the biggest bodied deer I will ever have had a chance to shoot. Oh man, it's a good mature deer. I'm not gonna need those anymore. Better get this rifle ready. My heart was beating real fast, and I thought, no, calm down, calm down. He's just a deer, calm down. Got a deer down. Let's reload. Go ahead and knock my hat off. A shot. I think he is down. We're gonna wait a little bit and give him a chance, make sure he's not gonna go anywhere. And get out and look again, and sure enough, he's down for the count. And walk up there, and he's a beautiful rack deer. He's got 10 points. probably in the mid 140s if you're interested in scoring. And
I've taken some big deer before in my life, big body. Biggest was 300 pounds, and there's no doubt in my mind this deer is bigger than that. He is over 36 inches tall right there to his shoulder. He's 14, 15, 6, oh God.
I've killed some really big deer. I've taken some good deer from Canada all the way down into Mexico, from the west coast to the east coast. This deer is by far the biggest whitetail deer that I've ever shot with a muzzleloader, with a shotgun, or any other kind of firearm out there. Talk about an absolutely fabulous hunt to have hunted so hard for several days, not really seen anything except for younger deer, and then all of a sudden here is this absolutely monstrous buck. What a fabulous hunt.